The council chamber stretched as far as the eye could see. Thousands of seats filled the massive hall, each one holding a representative from a different world. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that Jiwoo had to stop himself from staring. He stood at the center podium, a small figure surrounded by giants. Jiwoo took a deep breath. Behind him, Hyun-soo stood perfectly still in his military uniform. The soldier's face showed nothing, but his eyes watched everything. They had prepared for this moment for months. Humanity's first real chance to join the galaxy. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Jiwoo began. His voice echoed through the chamber. I come before you representing Earth and all humanity. We ask to join your great community of worlds. A ripple of sound moved through the chamber. Some aliens whispered to each other. Others simply watched. At the highest seat, Council Prime Thexion leaned forward. The Draxi leader was huge, covered in scales that shimmered like oil. His eyes were cold and calculating. Humans, Thexion said slowly, you have barely left your own star system. You have been in space for what? 200 years? Many species here have traveled the stars for thousands of years, some for millions. What makes you think you belong among us? Jiwoo had expected this. We are young, this is true, but we are eager to learn. We have much to offer. Our scientists have made breakthroughs in medicine and engineering. Our artists create beauty in many forms. Our explorers are brave and curious. We wish to share all of this with the galaxy. And what do you want in return? Another council member asked. This one looked like a floating jellyfish glowing softly. Protection under galactic law, Jiwoo answered honestly. Fair trade agreements. The right to establish colonies on unclaimed worlds. We want to grow alongside you, not beneath you. More whispers. Some sounded approving. Others did not. Hyun-soo shifted slightly. The first movement he had made in an hour. Jiwoo knew what that meant. His friend sensed danger. Then a voice spoke from the back of the chamber. It was old. So old that it seemed to crack and whisper at the same time. Every head turned. I wished to speak. An ancient being rose from a seat near the back. Elder Vorath of the Kelthani moved slowly down the steps. He was thin, almost skeletal, with skin that looked like weathered stone. But his eyes were bright and sharp. This creature had lived for thousands of years. He had seen empires rise and fall. Elder Vorath, Thexion said. His voice held respect, but also annoyance. You honor us with your words. Vorath ignored him. The ancient alien made his way to the center floor, moving past Jiwoo. He looked at the human ambassador for a long moment. Something passed between them. A warning, perhaps. Then Vorath turned to face the council. I have walked on Earth, Vorath said. I have studied the humans. I have read their histories and visited their ancient places. I have seen their art and heard their songs. I have learned their languages and spoken with their wise ones. And what did you learn, Elder? Thexion asked. There was a mocking tone in his voice. I learned that they remember. Vorath said simply, humans have long memories. They teach their children about things that happened thousands of years ago. They write everything down. They build monuments to their dead. They pass stories from generation to generation. They do not forget. Many species remember their past, another council member said. Not like humans, Vorath insisted. His voice grew stronger. They remember grudges. They remember debts. They remember who helped them and who hurt them. And they wait. They are patient beyond measure when they need to be. Thexion laughed. It was a harsh barking sound. You speak as if they are dangerous, Elder. Look at them. They have a few small ships, a handful of colonies. They are children playing at space travel. That is what makes them most dangerous, Vorath said. You see them as weak. You see them as primitives. But I have read their history. Do you know what humans do when someone harms them? The chamber had gone completely silent now. Every being leaned forward to hear. They remember who did it, Vorath continued. They remember every detail. Then they wait. They build their strength. They plan, they prepare. And when they are ready, decades later or even centuries later, they come back. They do not forgive. They do not forget. They seek balance. They call it justice, fairy tales, Thexion scoffed. Superstition from an old being who has lived too long. But some of the other council members looked uncertain now. They whispered among themselves. Vorath turned to face Thexion directly. I am warning you. I am warning all of you. If you accept humans into this council, treat them fairly. Trade with them honestly. If they ask for help, give it. Because if you harm them, if you cheat them, if you take what is theirs, they will not rest until they have had their revenge. You may think you are safe because you are powerful. You may think they are too weak to matter. But they will outlast you. They will outlast your children and your children's children. And in the end, they will have their justice. The chamber erupted in noise. Some aliens laughed. Others argued. A few looked thoughtful. But most dismissed the old one's words. Jiwoo stood very still. He had not expected this. Hyunsu leaned close and whispered, "Is he helping us or warning them?" "Both," Jiwoo whispered back. Dekshin raised his hand for silence. "Elder Vorath speaks from fear and age. Humans are no threat to us. They are barely a threat to themselves." He looked down at Jiwoo. "But we are not without mercy. We will grant humanity provisional membership. You may establish colonies. You may trade. But you will have limited voting rights until you prove yourselves worthy. You will pay higher taxes than full members. And you will accept that many worlds and resources are reserved for elder species only." It was not what Jiwoo had hoped for, but it was something. He bowed his head. "We accept these terms. We are grateful for this opportunity." "Then it is decided," Thexian declared. "Let the humans join us. They will learn their place in time." The council members began to file out. Vorath approached Jiwoo as the chamber emptied. The ancient being looked tired. "I tried," Vorath said quietly. "I tried to make them understand." "Why did you warn them?" Jiwoo asked. "Why not just let us join?" "Because I have seen what happens when the powerful abuse the weak," Vorath replied. "I have seen it many times. It always ends badly. Always." He placed a thin hand on Jiwoo's shoulder. "I hope I am wrong about what is to come. I hope your people never need to show the galaxy what you truly are. But I fear my warning will go unheeded." "We only want peace," Jiwoo said. "I know," Vorath said sadly. "But peace is not always possible. Remember my words, young human. If the day comes when your people are harmed, when justice is denied, remember that I tried to prevent it. Remember that not all of us were blind." The elder turned and walked away, leaving Jiwoo and Hyunsu alone in the vast chamber. "What do you think he meant?" Hyunsu asked. Jiwoo watched the old alien disappear into the shadows. "I think he sees the future better than we do. I think he knows something we don't. Should we be worried?" "No," Jiwoo said. "We should be careful. There's a difference." They left the chamber together, not knowing that Vorath's warning would echo through the years to come, not knowing that every word the ancient being spoke would prove true. The galaxy had made its choice. They saw humans as weak and harmless. They would learn how wrong they were. New Jeju was beautiful in the morning. Tae-young stood on his office balcony and watched the sun rise over the fields. Crops stretched to the horizon, golden and full. In 4 years, the colony had grown from a few scattered settlements to a thriving world. 200,000 people called this place home now. "Governor, the trade ships are due this afternoon," Sora said from the doorway. She was head of security, a tough woman with scars from Earth's old wars. "Should I do the usual inspections?" "Of course," Tae-young replied. "The Draxi have been good trading partners, but we should always be careful." Sora nodded and left. Tae-young went back inside to start his day. He had reports to review, complaints to hear, decisions to make. It was boring work sometimes, but he loved it. They were building something real here, something that would last. In the northern settlement, Daun was getting ready for school. She was 9 years old with bright eyes and quick hands. Her mother was making breakfast. Her father was already at work in the processing plant. Her little brother was still sleeping. "Hurry up," her mother called. "You'll be late. I'm coming," Dayan shouted back. She grabbed her bag and ran to the kitchen. Through the window, she could see the city waking up. Transports moving between buildings. People heading to work. Ships landing and taking off from the spaceport. It was all normal. All safe. High above the planet, Admiral Hyunsu stood on the bridge of the defense station. He watched the scanners with experienced eyes. Everything looked normal. Trade ships coming and going. Passenger transports. Mining vessels from the asteroid belt. All routine, but something bothered him. He could not say what it was. Just a feeling. The kind that had kept him alive through many battles. "Sir, we have multiple contacts coming out of jump space," his sensor officer reported. 37 ships. No, wait, more coming in. 60 ships, 70. Hyunsu's blood went cold. "Identify them." "They're Draxi military vessels, sir. They're not responding to hails. They're moving into attack formation. Sound the alarm." Hyunsu shouted. Get me the governor. Get me Earth Fleet Command. Move our ships between them and the planet. But even as he gave the orders, he knew they were too late. The Draxi had too many ships. The human defense fleet had only 12 vessels. They could not stop what was coming. On New Jeju, alarms began to scream. Tae-young ran back to his office. What's happening? Draxi fleet in orbit, an aide gasped. They're preparing to fire. Get everyone to the shelters. Send the distress signal. Tell Earth what's happening. Tae-young grabbed the communication panel. His hands shook as he recorded a message. This is Governor Tae-young of New Jeju. We are under attack by Draxi forces. They gave no warning. They made no demands. They are just killing us. Please, someone help us. Tell our families we fought. Tell them we tried to... The transmission cut off as the first orbital strike hit the capital. The building shook. Tae-young was thrown to the floor. When he looked up, half his office was gone. Fire everywhere. Screaming. Sora was already moving. She had been through war before. She grabbed her weapons and started organizing the security forces. Get people to the underground shelters. Move, move, move. But the Draxi were thorough. They had planned this. Their ships spread out over the planet, targeting every city, every settlement, every place where humans gathered. The bombardment was precise and brutal. In the northern settlement, Da-eun's mother grabbed her and her brother. Run, to the shelter! They ran through streets filled with panic. People everywhere, all running, all screaming. The sky lit up with fire as ships burned overhead. Admiral Hyunsu's fleet was trying to fight back, but they were outnumbered 6-1. Da-eun's family reached the shelter entrance. It was a simple underground bunker, designed to protect against storms. Not against this. Her father was there helping people inside. Go, go, he shouted. Everyone in. Da-eun's mother pushed her toward the entrance. Get inside, baby. Take your brother. Keep him safe. Mom, come on. I'm right behind you, go. Da-eun pulled her brother down the stairs. Behind her, she heard her mother scream. She turned back just in time to see the Draxi ground troops arrive. They wore heavy armor. They carried plasma weapons. They moved through the crowd like machines. Her father tried to fight them. He had no weapons, just his bare hands. They shot him. He fell. Her mother tried to run. They shot her too. Da-eun's brother started to cry. She pulled him deeper into the shelter, into the darkness, her hand over his mouth. All around them, other families huddled in the dark. They could hear the sounds from outside. Gunfire, screaming. The heavy footsteps of Draxi soldiers. For 3 days, Da-eun and the other survivors hid in that shelter. They had no food, no water. Just darkness and fear and the sounds of death above them. Her brother stopped crying after the first day. He just stared at nothing. On the 4th day, the sounds stopped. Everything went quiet. Da-eun waited another day before she dared to climb up. What she found broke something inside her. The city was gone, just rubble and bodies. Everywhere she looked, bodies burned, shot, left where they fell. The Draxi had been systematic. They had gone building to building, shelter to shelter. They had killed everyone they found. Da-eun wandered through the ruins holding her brother's hand. She found her parents where they had fallen. Her father's eyes were still open, frozen in his last moment of defiance. Her mother had fallen reaching toward the shelter, trying to follow her children. That was when the Earth fleet arrived. Admiral Hyunsu had sent the distress signal before his station was destroyed. It had taken 3 days for the nearest fleet to reach them. 3 days too late. The Earth ships found a graveyard. Out of 200,000 colonists, only 26,000 had survived. Most of those were children who had been small enough to hide in places the Draxi did not check thoroughly. Hyunsu himself survived. His station had been destroyed, but he managed to evacuate in time. When he landed on New Jeju and saw what the Draxi had done, he fell to his knees and wept. Sora had survived too. She had fought for 3 days with a handful of security officers, using guerrilla tactics. They had killed maybe 24 Draxi soldiers. It meant nothing. The enemy had thousands. When it was over, when the survivors were gathered and the dead were counted, Tae-young was found in the ruins of the government building. He had recorded everything. Every atrocity. Every war crime. His last act had been to preserve the evidence. Da-eun was put on a ship to Earth with the other surviving children. She did not cry. She did not speak. She just watched New Jeju disappear behind them, a burned world full of ghosts. On Earth, the recordings were broadcast. Every human saw them. Every person on every world watched what the Draxi had done. They saw civilians gunned down. They saw children murdered. They saw the Draxi soldiers laughing as they did it. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. There were speeches. There were condemnations. The Draxi claimed that New Jeju had violated trade regulations. They claimed it was necessary. They showed false evidence that the colony was stockpiling weapons. Some council members believed them. Others did not. But in the end, the council did nothing. They issued a formal reprimand. They told the Draxi not to do it again. They suggested mediation and peace talks, but they did not demand justice. They did not punish the guilty. They did not even make the Draxi pay for what they destroyed. Elder Vorath stood before the council and pleaded for real consequences. You are making a grave mistake. The humans asked for your protection. You gave it. Then you allowed this to happen. You are teaching them that your laws are meaningless, that your justice is a lie. The situation is complex, Council Prime Thection said. The Draxi are important members of this council. We cannot risk a wider conflict over one colony. The humans will be compensated. We will ensure nothing like this happens again. You will ensure nothing? Vorath's voice cracked with anger. You will ensure nothing. You have ensured everything. I warned you. I told you what humans are. You would not listen. Now you will learn. But the council dismissed him. The matter was closed. The humans would receive financial compensation. The Draxi would promise to be more careful in the future. Everything would return to normal. On Earth, Daun stood before the planetary government. They asked her to testify about what she saw. She was only 9 years old, but when she spoke, her voice was clear and hard. They laughed, she said. When they killed my parents, they laughed. They said we were too weak to matter. They said no one would care about dead humans. She looked at the cameras, knowing the whole planet was watching. I will care. I will remember. I will remember every face. I will remember every name. And when I'm strong enough, I will make them answer for what they did. The government officials did not know what to say to that. What do you say to a child who has lost everything? What do you say to a child whose eyes hold no more childhood, only cold purpose? But everyone who heard her knew one thing. Something had changed. Something fundamental and terrible. The humans had tried to be part of the galactic community. They had tried to follow the rules. They had asked for justice through proper channels, and they had learned that the galaxy did not care about justice, only power. Director Jin Ho sat in a room that did not officially exist. The facility was buried deep under the mountains, far from any city. No satellites could see it. No scanners could detect it. Even most of the government did not know it was there. On the walls around him were faces. Thousands of faces. The dead of New Jeju. Men, women, children. Each one carefully documented. Each name recorded. Each life remembered. Show me the timeline again, Jin Ho said. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a calendar stretching 30 years into the future. Every month was marked with objectives. Every year with goals. It was meticulous. It was patient. It was inevitable. We're on schedule, his assistant reported. The shipyards are producing 2 vessels per month, all hidden beyond Neptune's orbit. The Draxi have no idea. And our people inside their space? Daeun is doing excellent work. She has been embedded for 3 years now. The Draxi think she is a refugee seeking a new life. They do not suspect. Jin Ho nodded. Daeun was 24 years old now. That little girl who had watched her parents die had grown into a sharp and dangerous woman. She had volunteered for the most dangerous assignment in the Reclamation Initiative. She lived among the enemy, gathering intelligence, building networks, waiting, just like all of humanity was waiting. The years after New Jeju had changed everything. At first there had been rage, calls for immediate war. But cooler heads had prevailed. Earth's leaders understood that humanity was not ready. The Draxi Empire had thousands of ships. Humanity had dozens. It would be suicide. So instead, they had done something much smarter. They had pretended to accept the Council's judgment. They had taken the compensation money. They had withdrawn from galactic politics. They had quietly pulled back to their own space. And then they had begun to prepare. Every human colony became a fortress. Every space station a weapons platform. Every ship was redesigned for war. But all of it was hidden. The galaxy thought humanity had accepted its place as a minor species. They thought humans were rebuilding peacefully. They had no idea what was really happening. Dr. Yunji worked in a laboratory 3 levels below Jinho's office. She was the brightest mind of her generation, and she had dedicated her life to a single purpose: creating weapons that could kill Draxi. "The plasma disruptors are ready," she reported during the weekly briefing. "We can deploy them on the new ships. Draxi's shields are designed to stop kinetic and energy weapons. These work differently. They will punch through." "And the biological option?" Jinho asked. Yunji hesitated. "Ready. But I recommend we never use it unless we have no choice. It's too terrible." "Noted. Keep it in reserve." They had weapons that could crack planets. They had bombs that could sterilize worlds. They had things that would make the Draxi massacre look small. But Jinho had no intention of using them unless forced to. This was not about genocide. It was about justice. Captain Jae-sung commanded the first of the new stealth ships. The Wraith, they called it. It was black as space, covered in materials that absorbed every kind of scan. It could drift for months without detection. It could strike without warning. "Take her out past the Kuiper Belt," Jinho ordered. "Test her in real conditions. Make sure she stays invisible." For 2 years, Jae-sung and his crew tested the Wraith. They practiced ambush tactics, hit-and-run attacks, ghost strikes. They flew past alien merchant ships without being detected. They mapped Draxi patrol routes. They learned everything about the enemy. And slowly humanity built a fleet of these invisible hunters. 100 ships, 200, 500, all hidden in the dark spaces between stars, all waiting. But the preparation was not just military. Jinho had agents everywhere. They infiltrated other species' governments, they gathered intelligence, they learned secrets: who was corrupt, who had power, who could be bribed, who could be blackmailed. The humans became the best spies in the galaxy, because no one suspected them. The other species still saw humans as weak and harmless. They did not guard their secrets carefully around human diplomats and workers. It was their greatest mistake. In the 10th year after New Jeju, Admiral Hyun-soo was promoted to Grand Admiral. He commanded all human military forces now. He had spent those 10 years learning everything about war, not just human war, alien war. He studied every battle the Draxi had ever fought. He learned their tactics, their weaknesses, their mistakes. "We will need 2 million soldiers," he told the planetary governments, "all trained in zero-gravity combat, all ready to fight in space." "We'll give you 3 million, Earth's president replied. "Take as many as you need." Young people volunteered in massive numbers. They wanted to serve. They wanted to be part of the reckoning. Every one of them had watched the recordings from New Jeju. Every one of them had family members among the dead. The Draxi had killed 174,000 humans. But in doing so, they had made 10 billion enemies. In the 15th year, Da-Yun sent a message from deep inside Draxi space. "I have the locations of every military base, every weapons depot, every command center. I have the names and addresses of every officer who was at New Jeju. I have everything we need." Jinho read her report 3 times. It was perfect, detailed beyond anything he had hoped for. Da-Yun had spent 15 years building a network of informants. Some were criminals she had cultivated. Some were disaffected Draxi who hated their own government. Some were other human agents. Together they had mapped the entire empire. "Excellent work," Jinho replied. "Maintain your position. When the time comes, we will need you to coordinate from inside." "I'll be ready," Da-Yun sent back. "I've been ready since I was 9 years old." The human economy transformed. On the surface, everything looked normal. Farms, factories, trade ships. But underneath, everything served the reclamation initiative. Every resource went to building the fleet. Every scientific advancement went to improving weapons. Every credit was saved for the coming war. People lived simply. They did not complain. They understood that this was necessary. The galaxy had taught humanity a harsh lesson. Peace without strength was just waiting to be victimized. Law without enforcement was just empty words. Never again would humans be helpless. In the 20th year, Elder Vorath sent a secret message to Jin-Ho. The old alien had been watching humanity carefully. He knew something was happening, even if he could not see exactly what. When you move against the Draxi, the message said, please spare those who did not celebrate your suffering. Not all species supported what happened. Some of us tried to help. Remember that. Jin-Ho wrote back personally. We will remember our friends as clearly as we remember our enemies. Those who stood with us will be protected. Those who laughed at our dead will face judgment. Vorath's response was simple. That is all I ask. I am old. I will likely not live to see what comes. But I wanted you to know that I tried. I warned them. They would not listen. We know, Jin-Ho replied. We have not forgotten your words in the council chamber. You will be remembered as the one who saw the truth. The years continued to pass. 20 years. 25. 30. To the galaxy, humanity seemed to have moved on. They traded peacefully. They built their colonies slowly. They caused no trouble. They seemed to have accepted their place in the galactic order. But that was an illusion. A carefully crafted lie. Behind that peaceful facade, humanity was becoming something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. They were still human, still capable of art and love and beauty, but they were also capable of infinite patience and meticulous planning. Jin-Ho was an old man now. He had spent 30 years in that underground facility, coordinating everything. His hair had gone gray. His back ached, but his mind was still sharp, and his purpose had never wavered. On his wall, the faces of New Jeju still watched him. 174,000 ghosts, waiting for justice. Sir, all fleets are in position, his assistant reported. All agents are ready. All systems are green. We can begin whenever you give the order. Jin-Ho looked at the calendar. 30 years to the day since the massacre. 30 years of preparation. 30 years of waiting. He thought about those who had died. He thought about Da-Un, still deep in enemy territory waiting for the signal. He thought about all the young people who had trained for this moment. He thought about humanity's future. Then he thought about Vorath's warning in the council chamber. The old alien had been right about everything. Humans did remember. They did hold grudges. They did wait decades for justice. Contact Grand Admiral Hyun-Soo, Jin-Ho ordered. Tell him to begin. His assistant hesitated. Sir, are you certain? Once we start, we cannot stop. The galaxy will never be the same. Jin-Ho looked at the faces on the wall one last time. At the children who never got to grow up. At the families torn apart. At the peaceful colony that had been burned to ash. I'm certain, he said quietly. Send the signal. It's time. Across human space, ships began to move. Silent, invisible, deadly. They slipped through the darkness like ghosts. 500 stealth vessels, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a city. Behind them, the main fleet waited. Thousands of ships, all crewed and ready. And in the heart of the Draxi Empire, Da-Un received the message she had been waiting 30 years to see. One word, remember. She smiled for the first time in decades. Then she began to activate her networks. The Draxi financial markets opened as they always did. Traders moved money. Ships carried goods. Everything was normal. Then in the span of 15 minutes, their entire economy collapsed. Stock prices crashed. The currency lost half its value. Trade ships carrying critical supplies mysteriously disappeared. Food shipments never arrived at their destinations. Banks discovered their reserves had been emptied by phantom transactions. On the trading floors, Draxi financiers stared at their screens in disbelief. This was impossible. Their systems were secure. Their networks were protected. How could everything fail at once? The answer was simple. For 30 years, human agents had been quietly embedding themselves in every level of Draxi society. They worked in banks, in shipping companies, in government offices. And when the signal came, they all acted at once. Daeun sat in a small apartment in the Draxi capital. She had lived here for 15 years, working as a translator. The Draxi she worked for thought she was harmless, a refugee who had fled human space after the unfortunate incident at New Jeju. They felt sorry for her. They had no idea who she really was. Phase 1 complete. She spoke into her encrypted communicator. Their economy is in freefall. Moving to Phase 2. Outside her window, she could see Draxi citizens beginning to panic. Stores were closing. Banks were surrounded by angry crowds. The news networks were reporting chaos. The empire was coming apart at the seams, and they still had no idea what was really happening. High above the Draxi homeworld, Admiral Jae-sung watched his stealth fleet drift closer. 500 ships, all invisible to every scanner the Draxi had. They had been in position for 3 days, waiting. All ships report ready, his tactical officer said. Begin Phase 2, Jae-sung ordered. Target their military infrastructure. Weapons free. The Wraith-class ships opened fire. Plasma torpedoes streaked through space, hitting orbital defense platforms before the Draxi even knew they were under attack. 70% of their defensive satellites were destroyed in the first 30 seconds. Then the stealth ships targeted the fleet. The Draxi had thousands of military vessels docked at various stations around their home world. They were sitting targets. Explosions lit up the orbital space. Ship after ship erupted in flames. The few vessels that managed to launch were immediately targeted by multiple stealth ships. They did not stand a chance. Enemy fleet strength reduced by 68%, the tactical officer reported. They're trying to scramble their remaining forces. Let them try, Jae-sung said coldly. Target their command satellites next. On the surface of the Draxi homeworld, military commanders suddenly found themselves blind. Their communication satellites were gone. Their command and control systems were offline. They could not coordinate. They could not even talk to each other. Defense Minister Krasik stood in the command center, watching his empire crumble on the displays. How is this possible? Who is attacking us? An aide burst into the room. Sir, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from everywhere at once. Every screen. Every communication device. They've hijacked our entire network. Put it through, Krasik ordered. The screens flickered. Then a face appeared. An older human with gray hair and cold eyes. Grand Admiral Hyun-soo. People of the Draxi Empire, Hyun-soo said. His voice was calm and clear. 30 years ago, you attacked a human colony world called New Jeju. You murdered 174,000 innocent people. You claimed it was necessary. You claimed it was legal. The Galactic Council did nothing. Krasik felt his blood freeze. New Jeju, he remembered. Of course he remembered. But that was 3 decades ago. Surely the humans had moved on. We did not move on, Hyun-soo continued as if reading his thoughts. We remembered. Every name, every face, every crime, and we prepared. We spent 30 years building our strength. We infiltrated your society, we learned all your secrets, and now we have come for justice. This is insane, Krasik whispered. They cannot do this. You have 2 choices, Hyun-soo said. Surrender the 847 military officers who participated in the New Jeju massacre. Face trial for your war crimes. Accept punishment. Or refuse and watch your empire burn. The transmission cut off. For a moment there was silence in the command center. Then everyone started shouting at once, "We must fight back." One general shouted, "With what?" Another replied, "They destroyed most of our fleet. Contact the council. Demand they intervene." Krasik held up his hand for silence. He was a military officer. He understood tactics, and he could see what was happening. The humans had not just attacked. They had systematically destroyed the Draxi ability to fight back, the economy, the fleet, the command structure, all crippled in a matter of hours. This was not a spontaneous attack. This was the result of decades of planning. Contact the council, he ordered, but also contact Emperor Thexian. He needs to know what's happening. In the council chambers, an emergency session was called. The member species arrived in confusion. What was this about? The Draxi representative was frantic. We are under attack. A massive human assault? They have destroyed our fleet. They have crippled our economy. The council must intervene immediately. Humans? Council Prime said. He was a different leader now. Not the same Thexian from decades ago. The humans have barely left their own space in years. How could they mount such an attack? I do not know how, but they have. You must send forces to help us. Before anyone could respond, the chamber's main display activated. It showed Grand Admiral Hyun-soo again. Members of the Galactic Council, he said, you have been complicit in the Draxi crimes. 30 years ago, we came to you for justice. We showed you evidence of war crimes, of massacre, of genocide. You did nothing. You issued a reprimand. You called it complex. You chose politics over justice. Elder Vorath, still alive despite his great age, watched from his seat. He felt no satisfaction at being right, only sadness. You taught us an important lesson, Hyun-soo continued. You taught us that your laws are meaningless without enforcement. You taught us that the weak have no rights in your galaxy. You taught us that we must be strong enough to take justice ourselves, since you will not give it. Several council members started to protest, but Hyun-soo's voice overrode them. We are not seeking your permission. We are not asking for your approval. We are informing you of what is happening. The Draxi Empire will answer for New Jeju. We will have justice. And if any of you try to interfere, you will discover just how thoroughly we have infiltrated your governments. We know your secrets. We know your weaknesses. We have been preparing for this day for 30 years. You cannot threaten the entire council, someone shouted. We are not threatening, Hyun-soo replied. We are simply stating facts. We do not want war with the rest of you, but we will have justice from the Draxi. Stay out of our way. The transmission ended. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some species wanted to send forces immediately. Others urged caution. Still others suddenly remembered urgent business elsewhere. The truth was simple. No one knew what humanity was really capable of anymore. If they could do this to the Draxi, what else could they do? And the comment about infiltration had struck fear into many hearts. If humans had agents in Draxi space, did they have agents everywhere? The answer was yes, but the Council did not know that yet. Back in Draxi space, the siege continued. Human ships formed a blockade around every major world. Nothing got in. Nothing got out. After 3 weeks, food supplies began to run low. Medical supplies ran out. The population grew desperate. Emperor Thexion, the same leader who had presided over the council 30 years ago, refused to surrender. We are the Draxi Empire. We do not bow to humans. But his people were starving. His military was crippled. His economy had collapsed. And the humans just waited. Patient, relentless. In the 6th week, Daun began Phase 3. Her networks of agents started revealing information. Names of corrupt officials. Evidence of crimes. Secret deals, betrayals. They fed it all to the Draxi public through underground channels. The Empire began to tear itself apart from within. Protests, riots, governors turning against the central government. Military units refusing orders. Just surrender the war criminals, a major planetary governor broadcast. Why should we all suffer for what they did? But Thexion would not yield. So in the 8th week, Hyun-soo sent the ground forces. They did not attack civilian areas. They targeted military installations, government buildings. They were precise and professional, and they were looking for specific people. Major Da-yoon led one of the assault teams. She was 40 years old now. She had spent more than 3 decades waiting for this moment. Her team moved through the ruins of a military base searching. Found him, one of her soldiers called. Commander Zelthor. He's hiding in a bunker. Da-yoon descended into the bunker. The Draxi commander was old now, fat and soft from years of comfortable life. He looked up at her with terrified eyes. I remember you, Da-yoon said softly. You were at New Jeju. You commanded the ground forces. You gave the order to shoot civilians. That was war, Zelthor pleaded. We were following orders. So were the soldiers at your camps. So were the officers who executed children. Following orders, but someone has to answer. And that someone is you, Zelthor, was taken alive, along with 846 other officers. The trials were broadcast across the entire galaxy. Every species watched. Every government paid attention. This was something new, something that had never happened before. The courtroom was simple. No grand decorations. No dramatic staging. Just a plain room with judges, witnesses, and the accused. But what happened there would change the galaxy forever. 847 Draxi officers sat in the defendants section. Among them was Emperor Thexion and Commander Zelthor. They were not treated cruelly. They were given food and water. They were allowed lawyers. But they were not allowed to escape justice. The chief judge was a human named Minwoo. He was young, only 35, but he had spent his entire adult life studying law. Preparing for this moment, "This tribunal is called to order," Minwoo said. "We are here to determine the guilt or innocence of the accused in the matter of the New Jeju massacre. The charges are crimes against humanity, war crimes, and genocide." The Draxi lawyers immediately objected. "This is illegal. The Galactic Council did not authorize this tribunal. You have no jurisdiction." Minwoo looked at them calmly. The Galactic Council had 30 years to provide justice. They chose not to. When legal systems fail to provide justice, those who were wronged have the right to seek it themselves. That is what we are doing. You cannot be judges in your own case. Then perhaps you should have thought of that before you massacred our people, Minwoo replied. Now sit down. We will proceed. The evidence was overwhelming. Humanity had documented everything. They had recordings from New Jeju, video footage of the massacre, testimony from survivors, records of orders given, communications between officers. They even had some of the weapons used recovered from the ruins. Each piece of evidence was presented carefully, methodically. There was no emotion in the presentation. Just facts. Just truth. Daeun took the stand as a witness. She was 40 years old now. But when she testified, she was that 9-year-old girl again. She described watching her parents die. She described hiding in the shelter with her brother. She described the 3 days of terror listening to people die above her. "Why are you doing this?" one of the defense lawyers asked her. "Why not just kill them and be done with it?" "Why this show trial?" "Because we are not like you," Daeun answered. "We do not murder without reason. We seek justice, not revenge. These people committed crimes. They will be judged according to law. If they are guilty, they will be punished. If they are innocent, they will go free. And who will judge them? You? The evidence will judge them, Daeun said. Truth will judge them. History will judge them. The trials lasted 4 months. Every officer was given a chance to defend themselves. Some claimed they were following orders. Some said they did not know civilians were being targeted. Some simply said it was war. A few told the truth. They admitted what they had done. They showed remorse. These few received lighter sentences, but most, including Thexion and Zalthor, showed no remorse at all. They claimed they were right, that the humans deserved what happened, that it was necessary. They were found guilty. The sentences were death for those who had directly killed civilians, life imprisonment for those who had given orders but not killed personally, shorter terms for those who had participated but showed genuine remorse. The executions were carried out quickly and humanely. No torture, no cruelty, just justice. When it was over, Grand Admiral Hyun-soo addressed the galaxy one final time. "We did not want this," he said. "We asked for peace. We asked to join your community. We asked for your protection. When you failed us, we asked for justice through your laws. You refused, so we took justice ourselves." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "Let this be a lesson to all species in the galaxy. Humanity does not forgive. We do not forget. We will wait decades, centuries if necessary, but we will have justice. If you harm us, if you take what is ours, if you kill our people, we will come for you. We are patient. We are thorough. And we are inevitable. But," he continued, "we are also fair. We do not punish the innocent. We do not harm those who did not harm us. The Draxi people are not our enemies. Only those who committed crimes are being punished. We are not monsters. We are simply a species that demands justice." The galaxy did not know how to respond. Some species were terrified. Others were impressed. A few quietly approved, though they would never say so publicly. The Galactic Council met again in emergency session. This time the mood was very different. No one was laughing at humanity now. "We must address this," the new Council Prime said. "The humans have violated every protocol. They attacked a member species. They conducted their own trials. They executed Council citizens." Elder Vorith stood slowly. He was ancient now, barely able to move, but his voice was still clear. "I warned you," he said. 30 years ago, I stood in this chamber and told you what would happen. You laughed. You dismissed my concerns. You called me paranoid. And now look what has occurred. Elder, this is not helping." "I am not finished," Vorath interrupted. "For 30 years I watched the humans prepare. I knew what they were doing. I knew what was coming. And I said nothing because you deserved this. You had a chance to provide justice. You chose politics and comfort instead. The humans taught you a lesson. I hope you have learned it. What do you suggest we do? Someone asked. Accept reality, Vorath replied. The old order is dead. The humans have proven that might does not make right, but it does make change. They have shown that patience can be a weapon. That memory can be a tool of justice. You can either adapt to this new reality or you can try to fight it. I suggest adaptation. You're saying we should just accept what they did? I am saying you should be grateful they stopped where they did, Vorath said. They could have destroyed the entire Draxi Empire. They could have killed millions. Instead, they targeted only the guilty. They provided evidence and trials. They showed more mercy than the Draxi showed New Jeju. Be grateful for that mercy and learn from it. The council debated for weeks. In the end, they did nothing. They could not agree on a response. Some wanted sanctions. Others wanted to forget the whole thing. A few secretly wanted to recruit human intelligence services for their own purposes. But they did agree on one thing. The council's justice system needed reform. Real reform. They created enforceable laws. They established real war crimes tribunals. They gave protections to all member species that could actually be enforced. It was what humanity had asked for 30 years ago. It had taken a war to get it. Ambassador Jiwoo returned to the council chambers. He was old now, his hair white, his movements slow, but he was still sharp, still diplomatic. The human government wishes to reapply for full council membership, he announced. With all rights and privileges, there was silence. Then slowly species began to vote yes. Some voted out of fear, others out of respect. A few out of genuine belief that humanity had earned it. The vote passed. Humanity was granted full membership, full rights, full protection under council law. We hope, Jiwoo said, that we can move forward together, that we can build a better galaxy. One where justice is real, not just a word. One where the strong protect the weak, not prey upon them. Years passed. The Draxi Empire split into 7 smaller nations. Humanity helped them rebuild. Food aid, medical supplies, technology, they did not conquer. They did not occupy. They helped. This confused many species. Why help those who had harmed you? The answer was simple. Humanity had not wanted to destroy the Draxi. They had wanted justice. Once justice was achieved, there was no reason for continued suffering. Dayun became the director of human intelligence services. She spent the rest of her career building relationships with other species. She never forgot New Jeju, but she did not let it consume her. She had achieved what she set out to do. Her parents were avenged. That was enough. Hyun-soo retired to New Jeju. The planet had been rebuilt, though it would never be the same. He visited the memorial every day. 174,000 names carved into stone. 174,000 reasons why humanity had changed. He did not regret what had been done, but he hoped it would never need to be done again. Minwoo became a council representative. He worked on justice reform, making sure the new laws had teeth. He worked with other species to create a real system of accountability. It was slow work, frustrating work, but important work. Elder Vorath died peacefully in his sleep 15 years after the trials. His last words were recorded. I am glad I lived to see it. The humans proved me right, but they also proved me wrong. I thought they would be vengeful. Instead, they were just, that is better than I hoped. Humanity shared some of its technology with the galaxy, not the weapons. Those stayed secret. But medical advances, agricultural improvements, things that helped people live better lives. In return, other species shared their knowledge. Slowly, carefully, trust began to build. But no one forgot the lesson. No species ever attacked humanity again. No one cheated them in trade. No one tried to exploit them. Because everyone remembered what happened to the Draxi. Humanity had proven itself patient and thorough. They had proven they could wait decades for justice. They had proven they never forgot. And most importantly, they had proven they were fair. They punished only the guilty. That combination of justice and mercy earned